TPM Wong, Kishore Mahbubani from NUS. Since you mentioned schools, I always tell everybody that I'm very proud that I went to the same Tanjung Katong Technical School as you did. In talking about schools too, I noticed that when you were giving the speech, the word you used most often was we. We will do this, we will do that. And the whole onus of responsibility you were putting on the government to say that we will take care of this and we will take care of that. As you know, if you're giving the same speech in Michigan, and if you were saying, oh, it's up to the government to do this, it's up to the government to do that, they will look at you and say, hey, isn't it also a big, equally important responsibility for society to take care of itself and not rely so much on government? So going forward, over the next 10 to 20 years, do you see a need to rebalance the contributions made by government and society when it comes to addressing such big issues as the one that you raised today?
For sure, for sure. When I say we, often in my remarks, I suppose I can be clearer, but very often when I talk about we, it's not just the government alone. In fact, in one or two instances, I highlighted the role that all of us have to play. Employers will play a key role. Consumers, all of us, members of the public, will have to play a key role in changing mindsets and being prepared to pay more for services delivered by our fellow citizens, especially if we are concerned about uplifting the wages of lower income Singaporeans. So certainly the we is not just government efforts alone, but we also recognize that the government has a role to play and can do more. And that's something we are deliberating about, not necessarily spending more, but it's also about policies and how we might review and update our policies. Where spending is concerned, we think that there is some scope for government spending to increase. I've said this before in last year's budget. We spend as a government now about 18% of GDP. That's relatively low compared to many other developed countries. But with an aging population, with the needs for healthcare and social spending expected to rise, we think that by 2030, the government will spend about 20+% of GDP. That's about a 2 percentage point increase. It may not seem like a lot to you, but you know, the GST increase, for example, hardly even meets that delta in increased spending, just that GST increase alone. So we, in other words, have to find other ways of generating revenues, and Singaporeans must be prepared to do their part to contribute those additional revenues in order for us to meet that increased expenditure and provide the necessary assurances and support for Singaporeans. We do not think we need to go all the way to what some European countries have done, which is to spend a lot more, 30% of GDP, and with taxes which are much higher, where GST and VAT rates in many European countries are double digits, and personal income rates top personal income rates are well above 30%. We don't think we need to get to that level, but I think from where we are today, there is scope for the government to do more, but it has to be in partnership with everyone else in society, and that's how we can refresh our social compact together.